Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's video. Today we're going to go over some more practice problems, so let's get started. Okay, so I really wanted to take a look at what we need for those of you who are going to take the final. Basically, just remember the general recipe as you're going through the formal proofs. That's the four things that you're given as you navigate through the problem that you can use to really guide you through the problem. Also, write down the inference rules. It's really helpful to just have that in front of you as you're going through the problems to make sure that you are doing the problem in the correct way. So if you know you need to use a certain inference rule, you're not sure how to properly cite it or properly show it, then you can just quickly go to the inference rule and just, quickly get it the right way. Also, I can't stress this enough, but review the homeworks and the solutions. That is key because the final is going to be very similar. So if you have the homeworks down with the answers, if you got any wrong, go back to the solution that's posted online and make sure to review that. Make sure also to review the things that you learned. This final is going to be cumulative. So make sure that all the previous homeworks you have down. Okay, so let's get started. So I'm going to go over the practice problems that were given through the handout online, and this is number 19. Okay, so our first problem so far is our premise is given P1 arrow P2, and we're trying to prove negation P1 and not P2. Okay, so let's think of our general recipe. Is there a disjunction that we can eliminate? Nope and nope. Okay. Okay, well, can we eliminate anything else? Is there any other connective that we can eliminate just right off the bat? No, because we can't do conditional elimination without a P1 being there by itself to get the P2 out. Okay, well, we know we're going to need a subproof because there's literally nothing for me to do, right? I don't have any pieces that I can put together or anything like that. So I'm going to need a subproof. Well, the key here is to figure out what subproof. Where am I going? Why am I opening a subproof? I have to have a reason for it. So let's take a look at our conclusion, or the thing that we're trying to prove. So what's really helpful is to look at the main connective. In this case, our main connective is not the conjunction, but notice it's the negation on the outside because it's negating everything inside those parentheses. And so knowing that, I'm going to have to use negation introduction. Okay, so let's start with our subproof. So we're going to assume what's inside the parentheses without the negation and somehow show a contradiction, and then we can add the negation through negation introduction. So that's the general format of the rule. So let's see if we can do that using this problem. So I'm gonna add my subproof, and I'm gonna assume what's only inside the parentheses to try to later on get that negation and then be done with my proof. So I've got my P1 and not P2, and I did it for not introduction, for negation introduction. Okay, so now that I've got everything, looking at this, now let's go back through my rules. Is there a disjunction that I can eliminate? No, there's only a conjunction. Okay, can I eliminate any other connective? Yes, I've got a conjunction that I can quickly eliminate, and I can pull out P1 through conjunction elimination from line 2, and I can pull out not P2 from conjunction elimination from line 2. Okay, great. Okay, is there anything else that I can eliminate, or do I have to move on to the next step? Well, let's take a look. So we've worked with this second line, and we broke apart these two pieces, P1 and not P2. Well, let's take a look at our first line. Maybe there's something that's there that can help us break apart some more pieces. Oh, well, actually there is. So we've got P1 arrow P2, and we've got a P1. Remember, I need a P1 by itself in order to free P2. Right, so we've got conditional elimination from line 1 and line 3, right? Because those I like to think of it as like crossing out, right? P1, P1, and then what's left is P2. Well, we know that our general format is to try to get a contradiction in order to be able to add the negation later on. Well, guess what? I just got it. Right, I've got a not P2 and a P2. It's like saying I don't have apples and then saying I do have apples. That's a contradiction. So you can easily show that. And the way to cite that, I wasn't sure at the beginning, so I quickly looked at my inference rule about how to cite it, and it's negation, elimination, and it's just the two lines themselves, so only 4 and 6, that I'm using to show that contradiction. And then from there, I can quickly add my negation outside of the whole thing because I showed that by assuming the positive version, I got a contradiction. So now I can add a negation because clearly the negation is true. Okay, so then let's go on to our next problem. I think this one is the hardest problem, so bear with me through it, or at least so far. It's harder than the previous one. It's going to be harder than the ones that I'm going to go over, but definitely not hardest in the worksheet overall. Okay, so we're going to start off with our 3 premises, and we're trying to prove Q1. So again, let's go through our general recipe. First things first, do we have a disjunction that we can eliminate? Nope. I always get confused, so this is not a disjunction, this is a conjunction, this is and. We're looking for an or. There's no ors here. Okay, great. Is there anything I can eliminate right off the bat? Okay, well, again, I need a not Q1 in order to get Q2 out. I need a Q2 and a Q3 in order to get a not Q3 out. And I can't do anything with this premise because there's a negation on the outside. I can't just eliminate not Q1, sorry, and I can't just eliminate the conjunction and get not Q1 out or get not Q3 out because there's a negation on the outside I still have to get rid of. And neither can I get Q2 out through conjunction elimination or Q3 out because it's connected with a conditional. So I have to break apart this conditional in order to be able to get to the conjunction. Okay, so there's nothing right off the bat that I can do. So let's move on to the third general recipe, the third thing we can do. Is there anything that I can introduce? Are there 2 free pieces that I can quickly put together? No, right? There's no like free Q1 and free Q2 or anything like that I can put together, anything like that. Well, given this situation, there's literally nothing for me to do, so I'm going to have to add a subproof. Okay, I'm going to have to introduce a subproof. Okay, well, which subproof do I start with? Like, there's so many subproofs that I can use. Well, the best key to look at is your conclusion. What are you trying to prove? Where are you trying to go? Okay, let's look at that. So we're trying to get to Q1. Okay, so we know if we have a negative and we're trying to get to a positive, that's negation introduction. But if we're trying to get to a positive, then maybe we can introduce a negative, which is the indirect proof, get a contradiction, and then get the positive version. And that's exactly what we can do here. So let's assume not Q1 for indirect proof, okay? Because this is the opposite of the other one, right? You assume the negative, and then we try to get positive. The other one was we assume the positive to try to add the negative. Okay, so now that we've got our pieces, let's go back to our rules again. Is there a disjunction? No. Okay, can I eliminate anything? Now that I've had this extra puzzle piece that I can use, can I eliminate any of the other pieces using my premises? Yes, actually. I told you for the conditional, you need the left-hand side in order to take out the right-hand side. So I've got my not Q1, and now I can take out my Q2 through conditional eliminations from line 1 and 4. Perfect, okay. Is there anything else that I can quickly eliminate? Well, no, I still need this half in order to get this half. And again, until I get that negation out, I can't do anything with what's inside the parentheses. Okay, so we're gonna have to move on to our third step, which is probably having a subproof, right? Introducing a subproof. Okay, so which subproof do we use? This actually, don't be scared if you get stuck here, because I got stuck and I had to try out 3 different ways of doing it until each way showed a dead end. And then I was finally able to, through like the 3rd try, I was able to get through the proof. So it's okay if you don't get it the first time, just keep trying different things until you finally get it, and it's okay. Okay, so what ends up working is actually assuming Q3. And we'll see why through the problem. Because I tried different things. I tried assuming like the positive version of what's in here. It didn't work. Just led me to a dead end. I wasn't able to break anything out. So assuming Q3, and you can try this out for yourself to really see why this works. Okay, so we assume Q3 because, well, we already see, so I already see there's a Q3 here, but then there's a not Q3. So right away there's a contradiction going on. So maybe if I can get that, somehow I can somehow get Q1. So we're just playing along. Let's just keep trying. So I assume Q3. Let's see if that gets us anywhere. Okay, so I know that if I put Q3 with Q2, that I can actually get my not Q3 out. So that's why I assume Q3. Because if I can put it together here, you know, through conjunction introduction from lines 5 and 6, right? Q2 and Q3, I've got my Q2, I've got my Q3. Then I can actually do conditional elimination and get my not Q3 out. Okay, so then from lines 2 and 7, right, this is my full premise, and then this is my just the first half of that conditional. And now I'm able to get the second half. Well, now I got a Q3 and a not Q3, and what is that? Contradiction. Easy. So it's not 6 through 8 that I'm looking at, it's 6 and 8. So just those two things that are contradicting each other. Okay, so what does that get us? How do we get out of this subproof? I know that once I get a contradiction, I can come out of the subproof, but the idea is, so once you assume positive, you have to add a negative. So I have to add, once I've got that contradiction, I have to add a negation Q3. That's just the rule, right? I assume Q3 for negation introduction. Okay, well, why do we need that? We'll take a look here at our third premise. If we've got a not Q3 and a not Q1 from the fourth premise, then we can later on show a contradiction. So let's try. So I've got my not Q3, and then I added and not Q1 from line 4, right? And that's easy. That's just conjunction introduction 4 and 10, right? And I did that to show that, well, look, this is directly contradicting line 3, right? This is positive, this is negative. So there we go. That's a contradiction. Lines 3 and 11. Well, what's the point of doing that? Well, remember, the whole reason you assumed not Q1 for indirect proof is to get us to Q1. And we know that we have to show a contradiction through our subproof in order to be able to prove the thing that we're trying to prove. And that's what I've done. And so that's how I get Q1 through indirect proof from line 4 through 12. So this is a lot, so let me just go through it one more time. So we open up our first subproof, because we want to do an indirect proof, which is the opposite of what we're trying to prove, right? We're gonna prove the negative version to get the positive. Okay, great. There were some pieces, I broke out one piece which is Q2, but then I still got stuck, so I had to assume something else. Well, I assumed Q3 in order to add a negation next to it, and then I assumed Q3, right? Once I did that, I was able to combine Q2, and then once I combined Q2, I've got my first half of the conditional, and now I can break out not Q3. And then when I did that, I was able to get a contradiction, and in getting a contradiction right away through negation introduction, you're able to add a negation. Okay, why is that helpful? Because I saw that not Q3 is connected with not Q1, and we want to get a contradiction, right? In order to come out of that final subproof where we assume not Q1, where we have to show contradiction here, and I got that, in order to say Q1. So the general format is you assume the negative for the indirect proof, get a contradiction, and then you can get the positive version. And that's what I did twice. So the first time was actually within the subproof where we get Q3, then not Q3, then not Q3. And then from there, I was able to add that not Q3 with my not Q1, get the contradiction finally with my coming out of that second subproof, and then finally get Q1. Feel free to email me if you have any questions about this one. This was a tricky one, so definitely practice doing it on your own and then looking back and seeing if it matches with answers that's provided. But I hope this was helpful, and I hope your final isn't this bad. Okay, let's try number 28. Okay, so we've got our three premises, and we're trying to prove again the negation of Q5 and not Q6. So let's go through our rules. We've got, can we do disjunction elimination? Well, we do have a disjunction in this question, but it's again still tied with a conditional. Can't do anything with it yet. Okay, so what about elimination? Can we just eliminate anything real quickly? Well, actually, yeah, we can take out Q1 and Q4 through conjunction elimination. That was easy. Okay, can we keep eliminating anything else? Well, actually, yeah, once I've got my Q1, which is my left-hand side of the first premise, then I can get my right-hand side. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, well, where's Q2 now in my premise? Can I add anything? Can I eliminate anything else? Okay, well, I know I want to eliminate this to be able to get this not Q4 out. Okay, so I know I need this left-hand side in order to get this right-hand side. Well, I've got Q2, which is the first half of this, of whatever's in the parenthesis, and I know that from the rule of disjunction introduction that I can actually just add a random Q3. Through disjunction introduction, only disjunction introduction, I'm able to just randomly add whatever I like. And the reason I chose to add Q3 is because it's here and I want to eventually eliminate the conditional to get not Q4 out. Okay, sound good? And that's exactly what I did. So from premise 2 and 7, I did conditional elimination, and then I was able to then look back, okay, well, we're trying to get this, and none of this is found here. There's not a Q5, there's no Q6. So what's going on? Okay, well, maybe is there a contradiction anywhere? Yes, actually, there's Q4 and not Q4. Okay. So I've got that from line 5 and line 8. So then we have a contradiction, and how is that going to help us? Well, it's very helpful through the expulsion rule. As you're going through the expulsion rule, if you're just going through a regular problem, you didn't introduce any subproofs, anything like that, and you get to a contradiction, then you can automatically just assume whatever you like, or just write down whatever you like. And that's exactly what is in this problem. This one just it's like sneakily easy. Like, what the heck, I just added this, but yes, you can just add that. That's according to your expulsion rule. Okay, so let's try one last problem. And this one has no premises, and so we're going to set it up like this. So it's really important to really focus on like how we're setting it up to really understand why it is. So the idea is, the way I set it up is to show that there's no premises in here, right? So usually, you do your bars, and then there's something in here, right, to show your premises, and then this is what I'm trying to prove. Well, there's nothing here. So what's going to end up happening is we're going to need to do a subproof right away. There's nothing literally to work with, so we have to assume something. Okay, well, let's do that. Okay, so what are we going to assume? Obviously, we have to look at our end result. We're trying to prove this arrow this, right? So I just gave it away, but the main connective in this question is the conditional, right? It's like this can be taken as a whole unit. This can be taken as a whole unit, both connected by this conditional, right? Obviously, within them, there's smaller pieces, but the idea is these two big pieces are connected by this middle conditional. Well, we know that in our rule, if I'm trying to introduce something, if I'm trying to assume something, that I'm looking at my main connective, and I know that according to my rules for conditional introduction, I need a subproof where I just take the left-hand side, and I'm trying to get at the end the right-hand side, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to assume P1 and not P1 for conditional introduction. Also, I should note that you do not need to write this in your final or in your homework or anything like that, you do not need to say assume for conditional introduction. This is just to show you um, just why I'm opening this, but you just don't need it. You're not going to lose points if you don't have it. Okay, so, all right. So we've got our P1 and not P1. And we know from our general recipe, again, it's a general recipe, it's really helpful. But at first glance, I was like, okay, easy, P1 and not P1. Not, and then I got stuck. I was like, well, how am I going to get to P1 by conditional, not P1? And this is where we have to get kind of really thinking about where we're trying to go. So we're trying to get to P1 by conditional, not P1, right? Because we assume the left-hand side, we're trying to get to the right-hand side. Okay, so we know that the main connective just within that little part, within these parentheses, P1, biconditional, not P1, the main connective here is the biconditional. And we know that if we're trying to introduce a biconditional, that we're going to need two subproofs. So let's just do that. So let's assume P1, right? Because that's the first part, and try to get to not P1. Well, I can just get not P1 from the first premise through conjunction elimination. Easy, right? I'm not done yet. I still need to do the second subproof for the biconditional. I have to assume now, so think of the biconditionals going both ways. So not only is it like the conditional from the left to the right, but it's also from the right to the left. That's why there's two arrows. So we assume P1, we got not P1, now I have to assume not P1 in order to get P1. And that's what I did over here. So P1 for biconditional introduction in order to get, so we assume not P1 in order to get P1. I can easily get P1 out through conjunction elimination from line 1. And now I can prove that P1 biconditional, not P1. Perfect. So I've got my left-hand side and I've got my right-hand side. Am I done? No, because I'm trying, the problem didn't just ask me to just prove this, right? And I just randomly assumed this or anything like that. No, this is the full thing that I'm trying to prove. So remember, this is a subproof. Our proof is here. So we have to come out of this subproof, putting everything together with the conditional. Because remember, we started this big subproof for the conditional introduction. And that's what I'm going to do here, where I put the left-hand side, together with the right-hand side. So I assume the left-hand side, and then in order to get the right-hand side, I had to do two subproofs in order to get it. And finally, when I got it, I put it together. All right, everyone. I hope this was helpful. It was a great pleasure being your SI this quarter. I know we didn't actually get to see each other, but I hope these videos are helpful for you. And good luck if you do decide to take the final. Honestly, you're not going to lose anything if you do take it. The professor said that if you do worse on it, then your grade would actually be better if you didn't take the final, and he would just discount the final just as if you didn't take it. So if you are kind of like on the cusp, just take it. It's not going to hurt you, and it may help you. So I would just take it if you have the time and you really want to. And also during this time, just be mindful of your mental and physical health. Take advantage of the 8 free sessions you're given at the Psychological Counseling Center. Also keep in mind that your physical and mental well-being are connected. So also keep in mind your physical well-being. Try to go out for jogs. If you don't want to go outside, there's a ton of YouTube videos where you can find workouts. So just take care of yourself during this tough time. And I wish you good luck in this class. Take care.